something with this.
Yeah, we're gonna sign that. I'll get you.
I've already signed it.
With the ceremonial copy. Do you want to put it under? I wonder if it would stay there. Probably not.
I'll put it right there.
Yeah, we have a couple more minutes. We'll get everyone lined up.
So what are you guys doing today? Good. All right, I'm all in. So, are you ready, Emily?
Is the flag bending or moving?
Okay. Well, thanks everyone for joining us today. I'll just spend a few minutes here with my partners and leaders in law enforcement to talk about kind of what's taken place as it relates to this piece of legislation, House Bill 83, that reinforces my executive order, the Border Security and Immigration Enforcement Act. The Trump administration has been focused on tracking down dangerous criminals in our country illegally. I reflected back on some of the things that I did with my fellow Republican governors. In fact, even just as recently as just a year ago, about what we recommended for the previous administration to do. And this bill obviously dovetails with the current federal efforts because it enables our state and local law enforcement to detain or investigate a person in the country illegally if they committed an independent crime. Again, the focus has been and will continue to be on criminals in our country illegally. In addition, the bill introduces cooperation with the federal authorities and ensures officers can assess information about the immigration and status of criminals and use federal resources. It cracks down on anyone who knowingly transports dangerous criminals here illegally. I want to take a moment to reflect on the dramatic reduction in illegal crossings. Illegal border crossings have declined to their lowest level ever recorded, down 94% from February of 2024 and down 96% from the all-time high during the Biden administration. 2 years ago, the U.S. Border Patrol encountered 1,500 immigrants every day at just El Paso sector alone. Now they're seeing roughly 80 per day amid President Trump's unprecedented effort to secure the homeland. I printed off and looked at my list of 10 things that we recommended, and a lot of the success is relative to this administration implementing what we recommended at that point in time. President Trump declared a national emergency at the border and deployed the military to secure the nation. Department of Homeland Security announced that arrests of illegal immigrants have doubled under the president. In fact, immigrants are flat out just turning around in droves amid the crackdown. The list of actions the President Trump has taken to secure the border is so far-reaching, I would keep you here far too long if I listed all of them. The historic presidential election can be viewed as a mandate for the American people to reinstate common sense and keep America safe. Time and time again, Idaho stepped up, and my signature House Bill 83 is just the latest in those efforts to help the president deliver. First, I'd like to hear a few words from my legislative partners, and then I'd like to have you hear from Idaho State Lieutenant Colonel Fritz Swigert, who will talk about the difference that they're seeing working at the border. Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Governor. This is historic, right? We're talking about individuals that are here illegally, not supposed to be here in the first place, and then they break the law. This now gives us an opportunity to work more with the feds. It gives us an opportunity to take the worst of the worst that are in this country illegally and send them back to where they came from and keep our community safe. This is a good bill. It's good for Idaho, and it's a step in the right direction as we continue to kind of keep Idaho safe and to keep those that are here illegally out of our state.
Well, thanks, Governor. We want to thank the Governor for signing this bill. This has been an effort between the houses that has been coming for a long time. This is something that the Senate has been calling for through Senate joint memorials for a couple of years now. We've been calling on the federal government to take action, and we're really glad to see the federal government starting to take action. We've been saying for a long time the first thing we need to do is secure the border. We're finally seeing the federal government start to do that. We're finally starting to see the government start to take the action that this bill has really starting to see our own state cooperate with the federal government to do, and that is to find the people who are here in the country illegally, particularly those who are committing crime in the state of Idaho, and find those folks and get them deported out of the state of Idaho. This bill does something else. It says to those who are in the state who are committing crime, not only are you not welcome here, but when you come into the state and you commit crime in the state of Idaho, there is a severe penalty waiting for you. And we're going to crack down on crime with illegals in the state of Idaho. And so we're very pleased to see the governor support this. We're pleased with the governor's executive action that he's taken, and we're going to continue to crack down on crime in the state of Idaho with illegals. So thank you, Governor.
Lieutenant Colonel.
Good morning. Yeah, just a few days ago, I asked Colonel Gardner, who is the director of the Idaho State Police, if he had ever met with Homeland Security's leadership in the past. His answer was the same as mine, that we had never met with their leadership. Up until recently, about 2 months ago, we've had multiple meetings with the local leadership here in Idaho, and also we met with the acting director of ICE, Todd Lyons, just a couple weeks ago. One of the unique, I guess, restrictions that ICE has here is for the arrestees and the detainees. There's only one federal facility that's located in Idaho for the whole state, and that's over in Jefferson. It's the Jefferson County Jail over in Rigby. And the previous presidential administration had so many restrictions that were shared with us that limited facilities being able to be certified. And the director had mentioned that, even one that stuck out to me was that you even needed a specific soothing paint color to be part of to be certified. This is the Director Lyons did ensure that him and his staff are looking at eliminate some of those unnecessary restrictions. And the message is clear here in Idaho that if you're an illegal immigrant or a U.S. citizen, if you're committing crimes here in Idaho, the state police will work with our federal law enforcement partners, along with local police departments, local sheriff's offices, the United States Attorney's Office, and local prosecutors to ensure that we are conducting thorough investigations and there's a swift prosecution and possibly deportation in some of those cases. So thank you.
Thanks, Lieutenant Colonel. You may be aware that this has already been signed, but since they asked for a signing ceremony, I'm giving them the signing ceremony. All right, questions? Laura.
targeted or profiled or things like that?
Well, I can speak to that really quickly. There's nobody going to be unfairly targeted or profiled, because the only time this really triggers is when they've already been arrested. So you know, when this really goes into effect is when somebody has already been picked up, already arrested, already been brought in because they have been alleged to have committed a crime. So there's nobody going to be stopped on the street or profiled because of that. And already profiling is illegal. So there's nothing in the bill that encourages profiling. There's nothing in the bill that will, you know, reward profiling. Profiling is wrong. We don't want profiling in Idaho, and nothing in this bill has anything to do with advancing profiling.
Yes, Rachel.
So the Kuna County Sheriff's Office deputies are communicating with ICE about the status of people who were not investigated for crimes and they've been arrested and ordered for deportation. Is that something that you want to happen here?
I don't think that comports with this law.
Do you have other, it seemed like with negotiations between the House and the Senate, there seemed like there was an effort to try and kind of make sure this was in the constitutional bounds of like what's federal authority, what's state authority. But again, there's already a lawsuit that was pretty much immediately filed. Do you think that you struck that balance? Do you have concerns about like the cost of litigation kind of moving forward? These things haven't really been settled in courts elsewhere, so I'm kind of wondering.
Well, anybody can file a lawsuit. I'll let you talk about, go ahead, Mr. Chairman.
You're the one who put it together.
The governor's correct. Anyone can file a lawsuit. This does not, because the lawsuit was filed and it's enjoined for 14 days or held up for 14 days, doesn't mean we lose the lawsuit. I think we have a good attorney general to fight this one. It's a good and fair law, and I think we're going to be fine in the end, though we might have to go through a couple of appeals. I think we're going to get there. We're going to protect the citizens of Idaho, keep the cities, streets, and county places safe from crime. That's the goal of this.
I would add that we're just dealing with a big mess. There were so many people. Matter of fact, I was looking through my notes from one of my multiple trips down there, and DPS director, who would be the head of the state police equivalent down there, said what they have down there is mass surrender and release. There were so many people, they had so little capacity, they had so few judges. Somebody that went across the border last November and asked for asylum, the date that they were given that they'd ever even be addressed or adjudicated in front of a judge was 2033. And there's this huge backlog out there. And so the federal government, the state governments, we're all trying to deal with this. But the most important thing is the incredible message it's sent. The multiple different things that I indicated the administration did, it sent the message to where now we're not making the problem worse. We're trying to address the issues that are here, and that's going to take money, that's going to take manpower, and it's darn sure going to take coordination with the states from a law enforcement standpoint.
I have a follow-up, sorry. Do you support local law enforcement communicating about individuals who are here illegally if they haven't been arrested or on suspicion of a crime?
Well, this law specifically talks about the magnitude of the problem, and I've heard senior level administrators talk about the magnitude of the problem is the criminal element that they're talking about here. But it's and what was happening was a lot of the nefarious people, the cartels were using, and literally innocent people, whether they be from Venezuela, anywhere in South America, well, literally anywhere all over the world, they were using theirs cover for bad people and trafficking and illegal drug running to happen. So you had to stop that to where you get your arms around it, because with my legislative partners up here, we've spent a lot of resources on what we can do, particularly in the fentanyl area, and we've been very successful. But we've been doing a lot of work on that, but you can't do it with the constant increase in numbers that were there, and the fact that we've terminated the increase of the plan. Now what we're doing is trying to manage the plan, and this piece of legislation specifically talks, as the pro tem did, about people that have committed a crime and how we cooperate. But you know, cooperation between all levels of government, we encourage it here between our chiefs, our sheriffs, our state police, and then our federal partners. And even in the last administration, they, as Lieutenant Colonel stated, they weren't very excited about it. So.
I get another shot of the sign bill.
Sure. Very pretty.
Question for Lieutenant Colonel Weiser. You spoke about the changes in the access to leadership within the federal immigration enforcement agencies. Can you talk a little bit about what the boots on the ground law enforcement officers are seeing as far as, you know, for local police departments, ISP, what are they seeing as a change between this administration and the last one?
Come over here to these microphones and I'll hide behind you.
Okay. That's a great question. So it starts with just information sharing, and that's what we see, that we've seen results. In fact, just as I walked into this press conference, the colonel advised me that we have a current operation going on with our federal partners that we've arrested three individuals. And that starts with, again, just information sharing. With us working with the locals and the federals and all being in the same room and being able to share that information and build those cases has been a traumatic difference than not sharing information at all.
When you spoke about the restrictions that the previous administration put into place, you mentioned something about a soothing painkiller. Are there other examples that you can provide about just the difference between what the previous administration prioritized and the Trump administration?
That was the one that stood out to me. He said there were several. The director said there were several restrictions that they are looking at to eliminate those unnecessary restrictions, just to allow more certified, facilities to be able to, especially in a state like Idaho, if you make an arrest up in Coeur d'Alene or even in Boise, to be able to you have to have the resources to transport them over to Jefferson County, and then from there to I think they go to Vegas from Idaho. But the main thing that the director focused on was he was going to eliminate those unnecessary restrictions.
So does that mean we're trying to certify more facilities here? And where are we at? What does that process kind of look like in Fruitland?
Yes. So the way he told us was that there was so many requirements and restrictions that it was almost impossible for facilities to abide by those, so they weren't able to be certified. So they're looking at reducing some of those unnecessary restrictions so that we will have more facilities throughout the state.
Are there any facilities that we're looking at that, if those restrictions kind of get taken away, what facilities are we trying to do that?
They would be working with the local county jails, and that could be anywhere from the north side of the state to the east side of the state.
Mine's unrelated to Parma, but yeah, I just have a quick one. In the governor's executive order, he mentioned wanting to expand entities using the 287G program with ICE. Is that something that ISP is planning to go through the process of getting within that agreement?
So that has been a topic of discussion when we've met with our federal partners. The nice thing, so that we would sign into a written agreement to work with immigration authority, and right now we're working so well with our federal partners that we don't necessarily need to sign into a written agreement, but we have looked at the options of the task force model under the 287G, that we are definitely exploring the options of doing that here in the state. Yes?
So one of the concerns about this bill is that it would disincentivize or disencourage
My response would be that any citizen, or visitor that's living here in the state expects safety. They expect a safe community, and those folks, kind of as the governor said, this bill is focused on more of the criminal aspect. These are folks that are involved in criminal activity. To report a crime, we are going to focus on that crime that's reported, not necessarily the person that's reporting the crime, unless they're of course involved in the criminal activity.
That would be counter to the intent. If we made people fearful, I don't think that would be in anybody's best interest, because our goal is to keep everybody here safe, and that's what this piece of legislation does. So.
All right, let's get a quick group photo.
All right, I'll get this handsome bill up
First
here.
one you sign in like 10 years, these commemorations, isn't it?
Yeah.
Can't get people complaining about it.
Ready? 3, 2, 1. 3, 2, 1. And one more. Okay, great. Let's do one with just the speaker and pro tem.
We could do a signy, no, never mind.
We're working on it.
Okay, ready? 3, 2, 1. 3, 2, 1. Okay.
In case you send committees to wait upon the governor, I gotta run to Coeur d'Alene, but I'll be back.
Trust me, you got
Matter of
time.
fact, I might
You
not
got
go
time.
if you're
If
gonna
you
send me.
drive.
All right, thanks, everyone.
Thanks, Governor.
Thank you.
Thanks for doing that. Glad you're in.
Great job. Thank you.
Good, I was looking up this thing.
Yeah, thanks.